Hi, my name's Rachel and welcome to How to Connect with Goddess Branwen. Branwen is both Queen and Goddess of Sovereignty, Peace and Justice and Heart Healing. She is one of the great protectors of the Welsh here in Wales, and her story is told to us in the second branch of the ancient text of the Mabinogion. Her story and her life is a true example of her sacred offering, her wisdom and her healing. She's particularly potent in supporting you around the areas of communication, of grief and the expression of grief, and of the reclamation of your freedom, and also the other side of the coin of that of confinement. So here are my top 3 tips for connecting with Goddess Branwen. My first tip is to connect into her symbol of the cauldron. Branwen was the owner of the cauldron of regeneration, and this cauldron was able to bring men back, to renew them overnight, perhaps even from death. So I invite you to bring the cauldron into your work, especially around the themes of regeneration and of rebirth. So the cauldron in itself is a symbol of the womb tomb of the crone goddess. And so we can bring this into our work, into our ritual and our celebrations, and also altar space with Branwen. So you can have just the cauldron there to symbolize regeneration, or you can actually work actively with it. And an activity I encourage you to do is to take the cauldron, or anything that may also symbolize this chalice shape. So a chalice, a vessel, a bowl, or an actual real cauldron. And you're going to place into that bowl during your ceremony ritual any time that you need to, anything that you wish to let go of, but also to really anything that you want to transform, that you want to use that alchemical power of turning it into something new. So any feelings of grief, of anger, of hurt, anything that no longer serves or supports you, anything that frustrates you, anything, you can offer it as a sacrifice, as a letting go into the cauldron. You may want to also add some seawater, some salt water, or your own tears. The salt water and the seawater would represent the tears and the grief, but your own are just as wonderful. And then ask Branwen to take forth this potion and to transform everything that is within it and bring it forth into something new, to create gold from that kind of those base feelings, not base as in wrong, but it's just that alchemical process of transforming it through into something wonderful. So you can move forward, you can take the gems, the insight and the wisdom with you on your forward path. My second tip is to connect in with some of her sacred tools, and I want to share with you in particular some flower essences that I use with my clients in flower essence consultations around grief and heart healing. So 2 of the most potent ones that are for grief are beech, so green beech and copper beech, and these are for when you want to either hold space for grief, to be in it, to be really present so you can feel all of its nuances and give it the space and the time that it deserves, and then for also releasing that grief so that you can move on and forward. And for healing around the heart chakra, and for healing any kind of hurt or breaking or upsets for the heart in particular, you can also use soft pink rose and bleeding heart, and all of these are available of course on my website and through one-to-one coaching and consultations. Branwen really went through a lot of grief in her story, through both losing her own freedom, being put in captivity and taking her liberation away from her, and some of her identity as well being stripped away, and also for the grief of her son and then later her brother, as well as being separated from her own people and her land. So she has a real powerful story to connect to around this, and some really wonderful healing and wisdom to offer you, and also support and true deep love that can support you if you are going through any aches and pains of the heart. Just call on her. My third tip is to connect with her sacred animals, and these are two birds in particular, one being the white raven and the other being the starling. And these two birds are really symbolic of this liberation and freedom. She and her brother are the ravens, and you know, this mighty bird that can open its wings and, you know, fly quite far, and then the starling that also carries her words back to her homeland. So connect into these two birds as symbolic of freedom and liberation that always comes after and through working with any heart, grief, break or loss. There are 4 ways that I can suggest to connect to these two birds, or just birds in general. If you don't have access to a raven or a starling, you might have a raven, that would be wonderful. But if not, you can support a bird sanctuary, so where birds are cared for and then released. You can also draw or have the image of a bird, and you may want to bring that into your space, into your perhaps your meditation. Use it as a meditation, a creative activity, or just place that picture upon the altar. And also you can observe the birds as well. So watch commemorations, go out and be with the birds, observe their flight and see how it is possible to lift and to release and feel into their freedom, feel their arms beating and see the potential that is there for you also. You may want to speak and sing with the birds, so opening up your throat chakra, releasing any words or grief or speech. Song, you know, as a way of release and surrender and sacrifice of all those feelings as well. So those are my top 3 tips. I hope they are helpful. Do comment below if you want to have any more advice or further explanation. Do feel free to just comment. I'm here to answer any of your questions. You may also want to come and join us in our Facebook group as well, for our sisterhood community, where I share more about goddess wisdom, goddess healing. There are meditations and gatherings there. I'm also a best-selling author on Goddess Mythology, and I also post the links below so you can check out my books and my work as well. And I hope all of this supports you in your further connection to Goddess, sending you many, many blessings and lots and lots of love. Blessed be.